Steve, in terms of these two games, how do you use them? How important are they, and the benefits you can get ahead of the World Cup?
I think every game with the national team should be an important game, so they're both important. In terms of preparation for the summer, very important. We play against two teams, two top quality teams from different continents. They'll bring their own challenge. The Japanese side in particular have a very interesting way of playing. I found them a really good team to watch, if I'm being honest, in the preparation for the game, the way they play, the way they approach the matches. So it'll be a tough game for us. For us is to look at one or two things that are different, maybe look at one or two different personnel across the squad, try and use as many players as possible over the two games, but also to try and get positive results that we can continue to feel good about ourselves.
I was just going to say, how tough a balance is that at this time of the season to try new things, be mindful of where players are at this stage of the season as well?
It's very important. Obviously, we've got quite a number of players that are maybe coming back from a longer term injury or who are carrying little niggles at this stage of the season. So some of the selections might raise an eyebrow a little bit, but my job is to make sure that the players come out of these fit well and ready for the end of the season at their clubs, and obviously to be ready for the summer.
Building momentum going into the World Cup, given maybe what it was like, say, at the Euros 2 years ago?
Yeah, it would be important. It would be nice to think that we can continue where we were after the qualifying campaign. I think we've shown that our qualifying record is very good. Our record in friendlies is not so good, so that's something that we'd like to address as well.
Hi Steve, I just wonder, is there a kind of palpable change in spirit or atmosphere in the squad, that this is kind of the beginning of the build-up to the World Cup?
I think the similar spirit, similar attitude, probably a little bit more excitement. The players understand what they've achieved. It was nice to meet, for me personally, it was nice to meet up with them on Monday. We had a quiet day together Monday, where we could reflect a little bit on what we had achieved in the qualifying campaign, because obviously I'd gone 3 months without seeing them. They go back to their clubs after the qualifying. So that was nice to catch up, reflect on what we did, the journey that we'd had to get the qualification, to look back on that a little bit. But it was also nice at that stage to be able to sit with them and say, look, this is what we've organised for the summer, this is what we think the summer's going to look like in terms of organisation, where you're going to stay, where you're going to train, what our plans are. And it was nice to be in a position to do that and show them that.
Is that achievement you spoke of, is that brought into sharper focus when you watch the dramatic events of teams from the British Isles failing to qualify for the finals last night?
Yeah, well, I think it shows you the perils of being in the playoff system. If you have one off night, or I think in the case of both Wales and the Republic of Ireland, lose late goals and suddenly you're into extra time, you end up in a penalty shootout to try and stay in a World Cup. So I've got to be honest, we sat last night, we watched pretty much all the games. We had a split screen with 3-4 games on it, watching the games, and it was nice to be in a position where we weren't involved in those games. And I think it also shows the measure of how well our team did in actually qualifying direct for that tournament. So to finish top of our group in front of a really good Denmark and Greece side was something that we should be proud of. Thought it was good.
Steve, a name that everyone seems to be talking about right now that's in your squad is Finlay Curtis, who's come in from Kilmarnock. Is he very much one for the future, or is he one for right now who you're looking at?
If they're in the squad, they're one for right now.
And what have you made of him so far, mixing in with the other lads?
Yeah, good. I had really good reports on Finlay. Obviously, I'd watched him, so I knew what he could bring. He's a good young prospect, and he's acquitted himself well in training.
Is he one of a different sort of profile, especially with Ben out injured right now? Can he add an injection of pace to the side?
He brings something a little bit different. People always tell me I don't look for different things. I tend to disagree with that, because I do. Ben's actually fit, which is also good news. He's continuing his rehab back at his club. It didn't really make any sense to pick Ben. It didn't make sense to pick Lawrence Shankland. So the young ones are important for the future.
Final broadcast questions, please.
Can we go to Japan?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just going to repeat a question I asked Andy earlier, but this is the first time in 28 years that Scotland's going to the World Cup. What's changed? What can illustrate that change?
In terms of
qualifying this time and heading off.
Why didn't we do it for 28 years previous?
Yeah.
I can't really talk about that. I don't know.
No, we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about
the last time we qualified, I still had my playing boots on, so that was a long time. I think what's changed in terms of the World Cup, you're talking about, probably just the profile, the size. Obviously, I've never been involved in a World Cup. Even coming here this morning, going into the training ground for the training session to see the number of people on the side of the pitch from the media. Obviously, our friends from Japan have a massive interest, and I think it shows you the power of football worldwide. Like I said before, I've never been involved in a World Cup, and I can't wait to be there. And if Japan are the benchmark for the other countries, the size of the support, the amount of their media that are following them over here in a friendly match, I think it shows you that we've gone up a level.
How have you gone up a level? What I mean is, what's changed for Scotland that's taken you to the World Cup?
What's changed?
Yeah.
Apart from me.
You're the change.
No. I think what's happened is over a period of time, I've been lucky to have a group of players at my disposal. I could probably try and take a little bit of credit for shaping that group of players, realising that maybe I would have to take a little bit of criticism for picking players quite often. But the biggest thing I wanted to do was to build a spirit and a togetherness. I felt when I came out of club football, obviously with club football you can drip feed into your players all the time what you do and how you're going to do it, and you're working on that all the time, whereas international football is very stop-start. You just borrow your players. So the thing for me was to get a continuity of selection as much as possible, while still trying to drip feed younger players into the mix at the right time, was to get that continuity of selection and a familiarity of playing style, so that when you do meet up, the players immediately switch off from what they're asked to do at their clubs, and they realise, okay, this is how we do it when we come to the Scotland camp. And I think that, allied to the fantastic talents of the players that I've got, have helped us to earn 3 qualifications over the last 7 years. And the pinnacle, or the big one for everybody, was to get to another World Cup. I think there's a generation of Scottish fans that haven't seen that. Now, on the back of that, we have to make sure that it's not 28 years before we go to another one.
Thank you very much.
Steve, I just wondered if, in terms of, you were saying, try out maybe a couple of things, would you look at these 2 games independently, or are you thinking during the match you want to change things in terms of shape or whatever? No,
I'll try and do it independent, maybe 2 different ways of playing across the 2 matches. But there's always the possibility to change within a match, to try and change the way the match is going. Whether if it's not going well for you, maybe to change it. If it's going well for you, maybe to change it and see it out in a different way.